Alright, guys. So we've been watching these two shows, Everyone Loves Raymond and The Kings of Queens, for about a month and a half now. So I know I'm confident enough to be able to pick my favorite character out of these two shows. But I'm curious to see what your guys' favorite character so far it is and why. Noodles, would you like to go first?
Yes. So my favorite character out of the two has to be Carrie from Kings of Queens.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say her is because I just feel like you can see, like in this series, you can see the love that she has for Doug.
Yeah, okay. And you, Musica?
No, yeah, all of them I like Carrie because not only is she like I guess you could say the beginning of the working class uh modern woman, but it's also the fact compared to her to Deborah, she doesn't take it that much shit. Like Deborah kind of puts up with it, and with Carrie, like she'll let everyone know, like okay, like since everyone's starting to treat me like shit, I'm gonna start treating you like shit. And I think to me that's just great because it's like, no, yeah, like a lot of women should be like that. They shouldn't take no nonsense from anyone, even if it is from her husband, her father, her sister, or their friends. And then she even pointed out to Doug too, like, I love their dynamic, I do love their love. But she also points out to him, like, she doesn't like this, she doesn't like how she's being treated or talked to. Like, he has to step up and do something. And, she makes him see, like, this isn't right, like how what they're doing, you know?
Yeah. I agree with you both. I think that so far she's the most likable and she's definitely my favorite as well.
Hmm.
The reason for that, I feel because yes, everything that you both said, but I also like that she does seem more family oriented. And I
Hmm.
like her attitude also, where she does stand up for herself for that time. For the 90s and the 2000s, like she's standing up for herself,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
even though we have seen that, there's still a long ways to go. But for that time period, I like her. I like her more. I like Deborah too, from Everyone Loves Raymond, but I don't know. I guess we go back to personality types. But
Mm.
I like Carrie more.
I agree with what Musica said. Like she doesn't fight back. Like she just kind of lets it happen and then complains about it later.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, not to like diss Deborah. Like she's definitely like a full-time working mom. She's taking care of her husband, three children, pair of twins, which I cannot imagine is good easy to take care of.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And but my thing is like again, nothing wrong with this, but I think she's definitely the stereotypical housewife that everyone expects. I don't know, maybe it's because the way I was raised, the way I was taught and everything. I just find her annoying and such a pushover, and I just can't help like every single episode. I'm like, freaking stand up, yell, something, do anything, freaking leave. I don't know, like something.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like I
There's a
just
lot of times where I'm like, come on, Deb. Hi, I'm Mita.
hi, I'm Noodles. Hi, I'm Musica.
And this is Bluntly Talking. Okay, you guys, so let's dive into this. As always, we always start with Everybody Loves Raymond. And today we're going to be talking about episodes 9 and 10. The ninth episode is called Win, Lose, or Draw. It was originally aired on November 8, 1996. The synopsis for this is Ray decides to ignore his dad's poker advice to prove he doesn't need any help. But after he inevitably loses, Deborah wants him to ask for his money back. Musica, you want to start us off with this one?
Okay. First of all, my first sentence on here was that I immediately hated this episode. Let me just point that out there. I hate this anyways, because like, first of all, from the family dynamic and all this, and from like how it's been explained, like, again, he's the main breadwinner. He's the one who brings in the money to help with the bills, their food, everything. Mm-hmm. And from understanding, again, not taking anything from her, she's the homemaker, but she also sounds like she's also helping with the budget. Like, she's like, okay, like, this is how much we need for food, for clothing, the bills, savings. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, immediately when Ray tells her, which I think this is such a man way that he explains it, like, oh, no big deal. The fact that he lost $2,300.
Oh my gosh, yes.
To his father. And he's like, it's no big deal. I'll make it back somehow. And I see the panic in her eyes. It's like, I would be panicking too. Because, like, first of all, if it was just those two, okay, it's like scrimping and saving now. That's what they gotta do. But she points out, like, they have a family. They have a daughter. They have twins. They have to think about them now. I just hate how Raymond is like this. I love how the brother kind of is like trying to steps up and be like, this is bad. This is what, he does it in a very weird, awkward kind of way, but I get his sentiment, which I do love. He tries to like make both Raymond and his father realize like this isn't a very healthy way to what they're dealing with. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the one episode where I kind of like the mother-in-law because she brought up something which I think is something that all women need to do. You know, whether they're in a good relationship or not. You know, like yes, it's something that needs to happen. The fact that she says that her own father pulled her aside, gave her $100. She says that, I love how she's like, in case like I ever came to my senses and decided to leave Frank, which I laughed. I loved that. I was like, oh, that's so funny, but such a fatherly thing to say. And then I love how Deborah's like, mine only gave me 50. Like, okay, it's still funny. But I love how the mother-in-law said like, throughout the years of their marriage, she's saved. She's invested. Like, it's grown. So, like, if she was to ever leave or they were in a very deep trouble, she could step up and help. I'm not going to say the amount that she said that she fully has, but let's just say back then, she would be comfortable. I believe she would be comfortable by herself. You know, like, if she was to ever leave Frank or Frank was to ever die. Like, she would be comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's giving that advice to Deborah, granted not like fully like telling her to do that, but giving her the idea that maybe she should start doing that too, making a secret savings in case something like that was to ever happen again. To me, it's like, that is very good advice. You know, like, you never know. Stuff happens. And
that actually did shock me.
That shocked me too very much. But I was like, she has a point. And especially back in that time and the whole, like, again, the whole thing of this, the episodes up until now, it's been giving off the vibe to me that, oh, the wife has to rely on the husband. Everything is from the husband, you know, like it's what he gives, what he says, how it goes. She just has to figure out how to make them survive. So the fact that an older generation to her is telling her that, no, it's not always depending on him. You have to have a safety net just in case, which in today's age is definitely like a very good advice. Whether you're single, married, or thinking of getting married, it's good to have that safety net because you never know. To me, I just also hated the fact that, like, again, it gave up the whole like, oh, men are men thing, they're gonna gamble, it's whatever. It's like, oh, to them it's just money. And that pissed me off because to me it's like, okay, but from what it sounds from all of them, they're all old. He don't have to worry. But the fact that...
Are you talking about the friends?
Yeah, his older friends. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But again, like, the fact that I also do think this was also a bit messed up, because this happens, even now, that they'll bring other people into it, where there's, like, friends or families, you know, people who are about to make a living for themselves, especially with people who are, again, like, family members who have younger kids, and they know, like, oh, they're scrimping, they're saving, they have to think about them, but they're like, you know, this is a good way to blow off steam, it's no big deal, and then they lose a lot of money, and then they're like, oh, it's no big deal, I'll make it back next time. That's how addiction starts, and that's how you end up losing everything. And to me, it's like the fact that the dad didn't think about that and kept flaunting it in his face, it pissed me
Yeah.
off a lot because it's like, dude, you are literally stealing money. Like how both mom and Deborah said, like you literally stole money and food out of his grandchildren's own mouths, and he does not care.
I mean, I would say that at this point, I think we can all agree that these relationships are very toxic,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that that honestly doesn't even surprise me. I think it's surprising me when something good happens when they say like that advice that, and I still can't remember the name, the mother-in-law,
Mhm.
Ray's mom that told Deb that surprised me because you're right, it was like something positive. So that actually gave me hope. That actually gave me hope because you know how we kept saying like, is there gonna be an evolution? Are they gonna change? Or so yeah.
You're hoping
But I
that this
just
is the change.
yeah. So we're hoping I'm hoping anyway that it's the beginning.
Mhm.
Sorry, but I just wanted to say that like I think those behaviors that is very much at the, I guess what were they? Were they, I mean, I guess that's boomers, right? Those were boomers or the
Yeah.
silent, what was before the boomers? I think it's the silent era or something like that. I don't know. I think though his parents are between boomer and the silent era. I think. I don't know.
I think so too, because
So,
I think you're right. Ray, Deborah, and the brother are like boomers.
no, I think they might be elder Gen Xers.
Mm.
I
Are they?
think.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't think they were, yeah, yeah, I think they were Gen X.
Well, because
So
this
that
was like
means
late 80s, early 90s, wasn't it?
no, it was late 90s, early 2000s. So the show, I told you, let me see, the show debuted in
Beep,
1996. That was the first, and it ran from 1996 to 2005. So Ray and Deb are Gen Xers and the brother,
beep.
and the parents are boomers. But this is what I'm saying, you know what I mean? So I do agree with the way they're acting. That is very much boomer mentality for that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really disliked in the beginning that Ray and his wife, I always forget her name,
Yes, Deb.
Deborah.
Dev, um, that they were in the kitchen. I think Ray just comes in from work and she asks him to do something and he turns around like, oh, well, what do you do all day when I'm at work? While she's holding their children. Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that did
that
piss me off.
that really got under my skin because it's one of those I've heard that comment before. Like in
Mhm.
real life. Like, and it annoys me because it's one of those, what, because you're not there and you don't see what's going on, you think that she's just, what, sitting around with three kids in the house?
Right.
That little comment really got under my skin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, that's such a guy thing to say.
Right.
You know,
And you know what? It would surprise you that there's some women who think like that too. There
Yeah,
yeah,
are
yeah.
some
As with,
women.
I would say there are. I think
there are more.
now I hear it more, almost equally on both sides. Granted, still with males than females, but
Mhm.
the ones it's funny. The ones I hear that more with, it's actually slightly older generations.
I think about those type of statements, and you said, those are things that more older people, and you can say, Gen Xers really. I think Gen Xers and elder millennials probably still, because we go back to the sitcom effect. This is what these type of comments were out there, and this is what we grew up listening to. And I think that that's the impact that these type of shows have had on society, because I am so glad. I don't think you hear that as much now, but it's still
Hmm.
out there. I mean, we've talked about what are those called when we did the ballerina farm one, that there's a term now. There's a term now
The
for,
trad wife,
right,
the trad wives,
the
yeah.
trad wives. That's really where that comes from as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah.
So now it's just packaged differently.
No, yeah, it's made
That's
to look like, oh, it's
really
something brand new and different, like out of the box. And it's
right.
like, no, it's just put into something
And they
slightly more
make it
shiny.
seem like, look at how good things used to be, but it's like, but for who?
No, yeah.
Because for women, it surely wasn't.
Not only depending on the family dynamic, I think, but also like depending on like their circumstances. Okay, like the one with the ballerina farm. Everyone's forgetting that her husband, he's getting highly paid. He's from a very
Right.
wealthy family. They can afford that. The average day person, they cannot. They will literally end up drowning in debt and bills and everything.
Right.
Like they cannot sustain on that. I'm sorry.
The advantage that we have now in this, in the present time is that we do still have social media and people are able to do shows or podcasts like the way that we're doing right now, where we can talk now and give other perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
That is like, I think maybe that's why things are changing. And I said this, I have a very positive outlook for the future. I really do, despite all the things, all the chaos that's going around us. Because when we look back at shows like this, that I see it all the times. I am in a lot of Facebook groups with Gen Xers, okay? And I see it across everyone. We're all saying the same thing, like, oh, now we go back and we watch things that we loved growing up. And now it's, ooh, did we, we cringe
Mm-hmm.
because now we see it. And we didn't back then because it's like we were still in the middle of the fog. We were still in the middle of it, and it's when you're in the middle of it, when you're surrounded by it, you don't see it. It's not
Mm-hmm.
until you get an outsider's perspective. And in this case, we're looking back at these shows, whereas, yes, we do laugh because I find myself, and another interesting thing, I find where I am missing some of the things because in my mind, it's still like that's normal. And it's not until YouTube pointed out that it's like, oh, because it happened to us when Noodles and I were discussing yesterday or 2 days ago. And right as soon as it happened, I think you reacted. I don't even remember what it was, but you reacted to that and you said, oh my God, I remember what it was. But this is from the Kings and Queens. I'm pretty sure we'll bring it up right now. But you reacted. Do you know what I'm talking about, Noodles?
I think so.
And I was like, what? Like, I laughed, but I'm like, yeah, it was inappropriate, but I laughed because I was like, haha. And then she told me, rewind it so you can hear what he said. And I was like, okay. I rewound it, and I was like, oh my God. But that's my point is the brainwashing that we all go through. You guys went through it too, because you guys have you're millennials, there are still some things that it was everywhere. We were consuming this type of stuff, and so that does change the way society thinks. So I'm hopeful that now, because I'm hoping, I do think things are different now
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to. But anyways, I think we've gone off topic a little bit. Were you done with episode 9, or should I
I
do
literally
mine?
just began.
I know. Sorry. Okay, go on. Continue.
So the next thing I have here is about how Ray's dad basically guilt trips him to go play cards with his friends.
Yeah.
Oh, that was stupid.
And like it's one of those like okay, it's good to get out of your comfort zone, like go do something, but like Ray says, like how he was being made fun of every time he hung out with them. So of course he's not gonna want to be there, but he still goes because his dad's over here like you're gonna miss these times.
Oh yeah, like he's like, I'm gonna die
That's
soon.
and
Yeah,
that is
a typical move to do.
a typical boomer. I know I hate to call out boomers, but that is a typical parent, a toxic parent trait
Hmm.
that parents that we do. I don't think I do it, but I probably do, and I don't even notice it. But when you see it this blatantly, like on this show like that, yeah, it's like, ooh, we do need to step back and see.
After that, I have here about how throughout the whole game, like Ray is, of course, like he's being bullied basically. Like they keep making fun of him, and then towards the end of that night, he starts making a turn of like, oh look, he's winning so much, but he keeps playing, and his dad's over here telling him like, hey, respect your elder, and he's over here like, what? I'm just dishing what you guys are serving. Which he's not wrong about that. He's giving the same energy, which of course is making them upset. because no one wants to be put in their place like that. Like if you're treating someone a certain way, you don't want to be treated that way. But we go back to like, if that's the way it is, treat people how you're gonna want to be treated.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
I do agree with you guys about the mother-in-law, how she gave Deb that information about like have your own savings, save up. You never know
Hmm.
what's gonna happen. I really like that. I like that she kept trying to push for the dad to give Ray back his money, and then even her taking out from her own savings to try and give back the money. I think that was really sweet, and I think it's one of those. She probably went through something similar, and didn't want Deb to go through it. You know?
Hmm.
That is true. Because, like, what she pointed out to, which now thinking back on it, it does make me think that maybe they did go something of that. She kept trying to point out to Frank about the grandkids, like think about them. So it makes me do think, like you said, like maybe they went to a time where it was hard for her to feed the family, and she thought about her boys.
Well, I'm thinking it's clear that the dad has been doing this little poker thing with his friends for some time. What if one of the times it got a little out of hand and
Yeah.
he lost big, you know? Either way, it seems like she was coming from a genuine place. Like this was the first episode that you actually see her showing compassion to Deb.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I really like props to that. I really, really love that. I think that was really good for that
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, definitely breaking out of the whole evil mother-in-law mold right there.
Yeah, like what a flip from what we're used to.
I agree. I think that that moment, God, I wish that they would do more. Again, I haven't seen any recent sitcoms that I can, so I don't know, I don't have anything to compare,
Hmm.
but it's about female empowerment. And I like the fact, I think the reason that I'm disliking this show so much is because how they put the females against each other. Like
Yeah.
in this case, yes, okay, there's, mother-in-laws, have that, what's that, oh my God, what's that word? Where mother-in-laws are known to be the enemy, to be, to be
Yeah.
like that you know, with their daughter-in-laws or son-in-laws.
Hmm.
But I don't think that it's like that all the time. I think that it's because, again, because we're programmed to see it and we're programmed to think like that. Are there toxic mother-in-laws out there? Yes. Yes, there are.
Hmm.
But I think that showing females help, like in this case, I think, oh, and the mom's name is Marie. I looked it up. Where Marie and Deborah, you're right. I think that was a really good moment where she was able to see as a woman, as a wife. She didn't see her as my son's wife,
Yeah.
and therefore she's the enemy. She gave her that advice as one woman to another.
Hmm.
And I hope that it does change. I hope that I can see they're gonna obviously do for the comedy, for the lulz, they have to have some tension,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. But the way that it's just horrible. They're just beating down on Deb. Like this is the first time where she got some support from her mother-in-law.
No,
Hmm.
yeah.
I honestly think like the dynamic they have, it's the mom's number one for the son, and the mom gets jealous that he has a partner.
Yeah.
'Cause I've been feel her on TikTok. I've been seeing a lot of like boy moms where the mom is just honing so much on her son so that whenever he has a girlfriend, she will still be number one.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the dynamic that they were giving between
With
them two,
yeah.
with Deb and Marie.
Yeah.
Like that's been the dynamic,
Yeah.
and that is so not healthy. Like,
No,
It
it's
is
so
not.
gross.
and Ray doesn't help at all.
Oh
It is
God,
not.
no.
Just to close my thoughts, I do like that in the end the dad does give back the money, but it's one of those I think he finally saw or he finally understood when Ray was over here saying that he doesn't need to rely on his dad. And I think
Yeah.
that just
Oh,
kind
his
of
little
made him
speech,
realize,
yeah.
like, yeah, like he gave a whole little spew and saying basically, like, I don't want to rely on my dad. And I guess that woke his dad up and was like, wait, no, like, you should be able to rely on me. And he
Yeah.
gives him back the money.
I agree with you because I have that written down that I like that in this episode, Frank, I think that's his name. Hold on, I looked it up earlier. God
Oh,
damn it. Well,
I think it
anyway.
is. That sounds right.
Okay. He learned his lesson. Like, he learned a lesson.
Hmm.
And the actor, like, he did such a good way to portray that because you could actually see, like, the little light bulb going on.
Hmm.
Like, wait a minute. And he acted on that. So that I think this is the first time that I actually thought, huh, like this episode was kind of like a love hate, right? Raymond, it's just he to me is so obnoxious and he's such an unlikable character. Maybe that's the funny. Maybe that's why it's called like that. Like everybody loves Raymond, but not really. I don't know because I feel like to me he's the most unlikable character of the whole show. Look at what happened. This is finally the change that I feel we've been waiting for. I've been waiting for sure with
Hmm.
the in-laws. You know, where Marie gave advice, actually good advice and actually something she can use in the future to
Hmm.
Deborah and was genuinely wanting to help them.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the same thing with the dad. You know, the dad learned a lesson. He's
Yeah.
really stubborn, but he learned a lesson.
Mhm.
You know,
Took him a minute, but he got there.
exactly. The I have here that I hate the way the parents interact with each other. I think it's so freaking toxic and
Yes.
unhealthy. Because I don't know, like they want to show, in the show, like once in a while, like, oh, they really love each other, but in their own quirky way. No, I think that's healthy, not healthy, sorry. I think that's good for the man, but bad for the woman.
I
Like
agree.
Hmm.
if you're a man, yeah, like if you're in that situation, the way Marie and Frank are, I mean, Frank is in a good position, but she isn't. And
Well, I mean,
with that, well, no, I'm not
again,
even talking money wise. I'm talking the way the relationship is,
no,
the
no, yeah,
way she gets treated.
no, yeah, I know
Hmm.
what you mean. Like, I think like it
Okay.
goes back to like how different generations are raised. Because I also imagine like during their time and everything, the whole like oh divorce or splitting wasn't a very common thing back then. It's the whole like you stick to it till the very end, no matter what. And even then, like I'd imagine people who had gone divorces or splits, I imagine most of the time they would blame it on the woman and probably shame her
Of
into it and be
course.
like, oh, like it's not the man's fault. To me, that's very sad because then that's how toxic relationships happen. Like her and Frank, obviously they do not love each other. I think they're tolerant of each other, which is very
Yeah.
sad because obviously to her she's like she had to stay with him because of Ray and Robbie. And
Hmm.
okay, fine, but to me it's like they're adults now. She can leave, but I think she also has that unfortunate mentality like she was with him this whole time. She's like, why give it up? Which is
Yeah.
again like a toxic trait that to this day is still here. Unfortunately,
Hmm.
it don't get me wrong. A lot of people are trying to get other people out of that situation, but that's still alive to this day. It is still very tough to get people out of that situation because they get used to it. They're like, well, this is how it is. This is how it is. I have to deal with it. It's like, no, you don't have to. Especially again for her,
Hmm.
like the amount that she saved. Again, if she were by herself, she would live comfortably.
All right, guys. So let's move on to episode 10 because I didn't expect us to last that long with this episode.
Yeah.
This is how you know we all get
But
into it so energetically.
yeah, it really gave us a lot to talk about. Awesome. All right, so episode 10, it's turkey or fish. Episode 10 aired originally November 22nd, 1996. And the synopsis, Deborah takes it upon herself to prepare the Thanksgiving dinner, but not wishing to have her turkey compared to Marie's, decides to cook a fish. Threatened by Deborah's unorthodox plan, Marie resorts to cooking her own turkey. So, God, oh my God. Again, the most unlikable character, Ray, for me. I feel he is so selfish because of the way he's selfish all the time, right? But in this episode particularly, I like that he did, like, he kind of like just supports Deborah's idea about wanting to have Thanksgiving at their house because I guess every year since they've been married, they've had 1 year they have it at her parents and 1 year at his parents. So this was the first year that she was going to have it. She wanted to have it in her house. So she wanted to kind of get into the rotation of every year doing it, like doing it. Then she wanted to get in there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like she want to be part of the rotation.
Right. And I did like that Ray, I think that's the only good thing. He was like, yeah, yeah, like, and he actually did tell, his mom, like, yes, she wants to get in the rotation, mom, okay. But that was the only good thing. He was not helping. They kept adding guests. I mean, oh my God. And then when she decides to cook the fish, which was kind of weird, I will say. But this whole time, when I started watching the episode, I was thinking, why can't they just do both? In my mind, like I'm
Hmm.
thinking, this is so stupid. Like, why not just do both? Because I think everybody expects turkey for Thanksgiving, or most people do anyway. But you can also add a dish. Anyway,
Yeah.
so Deb has a breakdown. She's breaking down, and I know what that feels like firsthand. I cannot tell you how many holidays, how many events where, yes, you do, you break down because you want everything to go well. And me as a wife in that situation, I can certainly understand that because it's like, yes, you want it to be perfect because not not even for ego. Sometimes because you want to prove, like, look, just as you and look at what you taught me. Like you want to show what they taught you.
Yeah.
No, yeah, like you could also do it too.
Right. And but then Ray turns around and ruins it. Although this episode is so weird because he puts the fish in when she wanna because Deb has like a bat, like kind of like she starts crying, and he tells her like go upstairs, I'll take care of it, I'll wash the dishes, but he's not paying attention because he wants to be watching the game, and he ends up putting the fish in the dishwasher.
Oh,
And
no,
so
yeah, that was
when
disgusting.
yeah. And I thought like that's it. Like it's ruined because but it was weird, right? Because like she came down and then she was just like, "Oh my God." And then they just kind of like switched to okay, like they just rinsed it off or that was weird.
Yeah.
I thought for sure, like you said, like it's ruined. She has to throw it away. There's no way in hell she could
Yeah,
cook
I
it.
thought that's where it was gonna go, but I don't know. I think it was weird the way they played that off. And then, of course, the mother-in-law decides to come in with the turkey that she cooked without telling them. And she just shows up like, hey, in case anybody, wants turkey, blah, blah, blah. And again, I thought, well, why didn't they do that from the beginning? Like, to me,
Yeah.
that was like so stupid. I guess we go back to like, that's the lack of communication that they have. But then it's like, oh, there we go with the boundaries again. The mother-in-law is thinking that is totally ego-driven also because the mother-in-law was like, this is everybody loves my turkey and it was my year and does it because she wants to show up Deborah.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they had put a boundary of like, no, we're gonna have it at our house. She could have said, you know what, I'm not going. That would have been crappy too, because, but she had that option.
Well, she
The
did say that in the beginning that she wasn't gonna go, but then she still showed up with her turkey.
Right. And that's what I'm saying, that she overstepped that boundary. And, but I feel that communication, if she would have said, well, what if I make a turkey too? And maybe they could do that every year. like maybe that will be a new tradition where now they have fish and turkey every year. I don't know. So, but right there we go back to I hate that they're always overstepping boundaries. But at the end, Marie does kind of learn a lesson too, because I think at the end she's all, she does apologize, but then again going over boundaries, she decides, well, it was so good, we're gonna have Thanksgiving at your place every year now, without even asking, like she just already made it a done deal.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, lady, I had such high hopes for you.
I think
But
with
yeah,
that, she was trying to do a nice thing, but it's one of those like, it's not nice when you offer up someone else's home.
right.
And it's not yours to offer, you know?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't like that how when Deb was bringing this up to Ray, he really didn't want in the beginning to have it at their home because he didn't want anything to change. He was like, "It's my mom's turn though, and you know how she gets. She doesn't like change."
Mhm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so he leaves it up to Deb to tell her, to tell his mom that, oh, she
Well,
wants to host.
like always, he always leaves it up to Deb.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
And
Again, like
so,
giving the impression that like, oh, if it's too tough for the man, have the wife do it.
hmm
Yeah.
and so Deb ends up going and telling the mom, and she does. She doesn't take it good. Like, she's very upset and, like, even says that, well, I'm gonna have my dinner at my house if anyone wants to go, and she, like, storms off, and Ray's over here like, but she's gonna have a feast, like, maybe we should just go over instead. And he sees that, like, Deb gives him a look, and he's like, no, 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 we're having it. Deb really wants it at our house. We're having it at our house.
Mhm.
So that was, like, in the very beginning, I didn't like that. I
Yeah.
do think, like, later on, a lot of the stuff that kind of goes wrong, it's really on Ray. Because he's wanting to go watch TV, but here's Deb slaving in the kitchen trying to get everything like organized, and she's fumbling, and like you see her having her breakdown. And that's when Ray is over here like, oh shit, like this is serious. Like he's already over the crying. We already covered about the fish, what he does with the fish, because he's
God.
trying to watch the stupid game. I also thought it was very weird that, although I feel like this is something that does happen, is that Ray's dad, when he comes over, and he right away is like, "Oh, football game, like let's watch it."
Oh
And
God, yes.
but Deb's dad is in their living room, and he's watching soccer. And he goes
Yeah.
on to like the spew about how like soccer is football and all of this stuff, and the dad's not having it. He's not happy. So Ray ends up telling him like, "Look, go up to my room and you can watch the game over there." And the dad's over here saying like, "That TV is too small. Like, what are you talking about?" But Ray, of course, like smooths it over by telling him, "You could be laying down watching TV." And the dad right away is like, "Oh, you're right."
Oh yeah,
That
and he tells
moment
him
was
like to
very
keep his
funny.
bed, he keep his feet on the bed, not in the bed, which to me was like, oh my god, that is
Yeah,
so
like he's
weird to
basically telling him, "Don't go
say.
under the covers." That part in particular reminded me of my childhood when there would be parties and me and my cousins, because we were small, we didn't want to be out there while everyone's yelling. Like, we didn't care for those games. So what did we do? We would go to my mom's room and play on our GameCube. We would go and
Mhm.
watch our cartoons. Like that was something that like the kids would do. So I thought it was funny that I was like, oh, like his dad is doing that. But
That's funny. I didn't even think about that, but you're right.
it just reminded me of that. I'm like that's such a kid thing to do, but I guess it works as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
I do have something to say, which I think mom left out a little bit, just one thing, because everything else, yeah, she covered pretty much well too. One thing I hate, which
Mhm.
is like even to this day now, which I hate, is the pressure. Which
Yes.
again, like she wanted something simple, she wanted something nice, and like easy, and I wouldn't say elegant, but like I guess in her case, in her head, she's like, elegant. But then when it started, like you said, like, oh, like they said, like, who else they invited, they're not gonna come over to their house,
Oh
and it's all these other
yes.
different people. She's like, oh my god, no, because like they're gonna criticize, they have like a certain way they like to eat things, or like they like this type of certain foods. So now she has to pretty much her simple, easy meal plan that she was gonna do is now ruined because she now has to make a feast. Pretty
Right.
much like how the mom said like how she was gonna do.
Right.
And there was a time where she was thinking like, oh, I'm gonna have to switch out my fish for a turkey. But I'm happy she did try to stick with the fish, which again, like I do hate how they kind of ruined it. They never touched that again. But to me, it's like that's something like still present to this day too. Like whether any major holiday, there's always pressure, especially to the women, that they have to present a big ass meal. And again, just like
Yeah.
how Deborah goes with it and everything, like any little wrong thing, which all people like, again, like how Ray is like, oh, it's no big deal, it's just small little mistakes. Like it may not be a big deal to you, but for the person who's making this damn feast and everything, it's a very big deal because now it's like that's ruined. I gotta figure out something else to replace it, or I gotta go buy a replacement, or figure out something similar to it, and that's a lot of pressure. And especially like her doing it by herself, because even with Ray's help, I'm doing air quotes here, she was doing it by herself, which again, it's like that's a lot to this day, right now. It's a lot on moms, daughters, or anybody who wants to cook, whatever. It's like it's a lot of pressure on them,
Yeah.
and I didn't like that because I think they kind of
That's
downplayed that a bit, and it sucked for me because like I hate that because I remember the one time that the times that me and Emily did our own little small little feasts for each other in the UK and everything. It was kind of hard, and it was just the two of us, because we had to
yeah.
think, because like the amount of things that I was thinking of getting to buy to cook, strangely enough, like I kept thinking like for a lot of people for some reason, and it wasn't until my wife pointed out to me like, why are you getting so much of this? It's only gonna be the two of us, and I did think like, well, like and my response immediately was like, well, this is how my mom always made it. But like
Yeah.
again, my wife put out a point. Like it was just the two of us. We ended up like putting back like more than half of my cart back, but and even then we still had a lot left over. But no, yeah, like it's the point like everything that I was trying to get, and I started to feel a little bit frustrated and everything. Like I got like a little taste of like what my mom went through a lot, because it's true. Like it was just the two of us, but normally when it was like a big family, like you gotta think about for multiple people, multiple mouths, and not even then, you gotta think about like what if they want seconds or thirds.
Yeah.
Like you have to put a lot, and it's a lot of pressure for the person cooking. And I don't like how they underplayed it and make it try to seem like it's silly for her. In reality, it's like no, I felt for Deborah right there, because like
Yeah.
her coming back down, seeing her main dish particularly be destroyed by her husband, I could see like multiple emotions going through her. Anger, sadness, wanting to scream and just quit right there, but also like, no, I gotta power through it. Like, she looked defeated. And
Yeah.
I think any woman who's gone through that would feel for her. Because I did. Even just for like a little
Yeah.
bit, for the times I, again, like I cooked a lot, it's like, I felt for her. I wanted to cry with her.
Yeah. I will say that was a very triggering episode in that sense. Seeing her, the way she was pressured, and then when she breaks down, that did. You're
Yeah.
right. And it's just once again, it's Deb is the butt of the jokes because it's kind of like she had that breakdown. But I'm sure that there's a lot of people who are, oh my God, she's overreacting. Or ha ha ha, look, she's having a breakdown. Ah ha ha, girl, and,
Yeah.
crying over something as silly as Thanksgiving dinner. That's how a lot of people saw it that way, and especially the men.
hmm
Especially the men. So you're right, like yet again, here she was, the butt of the joke. It was funny, and then, when Frank was choking. And they do the Hamlet maneuver and he spits out the food and Marie is like, I'm sure it's the fish, and I was like, no, it's the turkey. And for some reason it was like it had whoever whatever he was choking on, like that was in their mind, because I could get in their state of mind, I could
No,
think of,
yeah,
yeah,
like in their mind, it's
in
like,
their
oh, that's the
mind,
person who lost.
right.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, it was the dang fish that he was choking on. And then again, she storms off crying, and it's like, oh, I feel so crushed.
Yeah.
But then everybody's like, Frank's like, I see the fish.
Yeah, he's like, I still
Even though
want
he
more.
was, right. So, yeah, I mean, again, I hope that it does change.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen little bits of changes here and there, so that's
Hopefully
not
they continue with it.
right. All right, guys. Now we're gonna go to the Kings of Queens, and this is episode 9, Road Rage. It aired November 16, 1998. Synopsis of this is Doug becomes friends with a man, Ray Barone, who has New York Jets season tickets. When Ray cheats off of his driving test, Doug loses his license.
Dun dun dun.
I think, was this the one that you said? Like, oh my god, you guys are gonna laugh? Was it
Uh,
that?
yes, because I couldn't believe like they did a crossover with them, but also like I guess the bromance they were trying to put with them. Like I kept laughing at it because it was just so stupid. I'm sorry, like it
Okay,
really was.
so
I laughed at it a lot.
yeah, for me, as soon as I was like, oh my god, great, both guys in one show, like just what it freaking needed. It was so weird because I had seen Doug, but he wasn't playing the actor who plays Doug. He had done he had been in Ray's show,
Mhm.
but in this one, they're both playing their characters. Because in this one, Ray is Ray Barone from Everyone Knows Raymond. Because
Yeah.
also Robert comes out, and then the his dad Frank comes out.
Mhm.
Yes.
But this show, honestly, I turned around and I said to Noodles, I'm like, I actually had to pause it, and I said, do you really think that men are actually like this immature? Because, oh my God, it's just the level of immaturity in this episode, and I can't help and wonder, was it intentional? Like, did the writers really do it at the time, intentional thinking, again, the lulz? Like, is that where they were going? Because I just,
Mhm.
oh my God, like, just the way, it was so uncomfortable to watch for me. I didn't like this one. Yes, it was funny, some points, I guess, but I don't know. So the scene that I said in the beginning, okay, I don't remember what, but it's a scene where they're in the living room, and I think it's just Doug and the dad, right? Doug and Carrie's dad,
Yeah.
and he's reading out loud, which is like, why is he reading it out loud?
Good
He,
question. I don't know.
God, he was reading, I don't know if he was like a novel, and I don't know what he was reading, but he's reading this novel out loud, and it has to do, like, it's a sexual scene, and that's what I was like, huh, like, it's like what? Because then he's like, okay, I gotta get up and go to my room now, or and of course it alludes to like he's gonna go take care of something, and that's the part where Noodles is like, oh my God, do they have to do those types of jokes again? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, did you not just hear, Mom? Like, they're that man. He's always making ancestral jokes,
Mhm.
and so I had to rewind it to see, and I'm like, oh my God, you're right. And that's the part that I was telling you about. That my it was just, oh, it was funny, that whole scene. Like, I didn't really pay attention to the words, and then not. But even if you honestly, even if that little reference, if it wasn't like a mother and a sister, if it would have just been two friends, that whole thing that he says there is so inappropriate.
Mhm. Yeah.
That, I'm like, oh my God, how did this? I don't know. It was just weird. If you guys want to give, I mean, that's really my take on this. I don't know what else. I just put that I just didn't like this episode because
For
it
me,
had the two worst characters on there.
no, yeah. So for me, looking back on it now, to me, it's like I also kind of like it, find it a bit more funny, and kind of like Kings and Queens now a bit more because now it also shows the difference in character of Ray and Doug. Yes, not the best husbands, but compared to each other, Doug wins a bit more by a hair, you know?
Hmm.
And not only that, again, like I took it like, oh, like their weird bromance and like the way not Doug, the way that Ray was acting towards Doug, his guilt, his feeling of like, oh, like I cost a man his job for a week. I have to pay him back to make myself feel better. Because he literally tells him that, like, this isn't for you. This is for me. I gotta make it feel better for me. First of all, wrong mentality. Like, sir, come on, get over yourself. And second of all, like, they treated like almost like they were like a weird kind of couple in a way. Like him calling
Hmm.
him, texting him, like, hey, you want to come hang out, do this and that? Like, I'll pay for everything for you. You know, they're almost like kind of give off like they're high school couples.
Right.
And
Mhm.
I laughed at that because I thought that was funny. And again, like looking back on it, it's like that's kind of a bit weird too. Like, bro, he's married. He literally stalked him to his lunch place again to tell him that I had to make everything right for you to make myself feel better. And the fact that he tells him like I literally promised my wife I will stop hanging out with you. Please leave me alone. He tells him like you don't have to do anything for me. Like nothing at all. Just say you're sorry and that's it. He's like, no, I have to do something. Like again, that just shows like Ray's way too pushy. Like
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Mhm.
He's not
Well, he's
respecting.
used to getting his way.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, the fact that Doug jeopardized his license to
Hmm.
just help Ray out with a few questions.
Yeah.
I think that was stupid. Very, very stupid. But again, like also like in a way too, like again, I go back to like how compared to the two, like when Ray gambled the money and Doug losing work for about a week, is that like Doug and Carrie can afford that because they don't have kids and she's working.
Yeah.
They can kind of afford that for that week. Like they don't have to worry. I
Mhm.
Yeah.
again, like I just, if anything to me, it's like it shows off more like why I dislike Ray the most compared to the two.
But see, and I see it, I've said this from the beginning. I think the reason, I think because the actor, Kevin, who plays Doug, I think that he's a likable person. So I think he's bringing his own little chemistry, I guess, I don't know. And I think that's the only reason why both of them, I think both Carrie and Doug, I think it's the actors.
Technical difficulty, guys, but thanks for watching. We are Bluntly Talking.